Everyone's happy. You having a good weekend? Good. How many of you here is this your first convention? Oh, nice. Welcome. Welcome. We got an hour. What do you guys want to talk about? Talk about me. All right. I'm like, I need a cup of wine. Go. Just kidding. Do we have questions? I love you. It's so nice. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. Vampire Diaries fans. Originals fans. I think Vampire Diaries won that one. Legacy fans. Yes. Okay. That's good. That's good. Let's open up this line over here to some questions. Young lady.
Hi there, I'm Morgan. It's nice to meet you.
Hi Morgan, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good.
Good. My question for you is, if you have one, what is your coffee order? If you don't drink coffee, then what is like your Starbucks alternative?
Yeah, so I went through a divorce this year, and I know it's terrible. Thank you. What is that? And but during that process, there was a lot of runs to Starbucks, the anxiety runs, just like processing everything. Like I was always on the phone with mom. I was always talking about my went to Starbucks, and so she knows my order inside now. I must have talked to her 20 times when I went to Starbucks. It was always the venti mocha, extra shot, hot, no whip. That would be the Starbucks order. But now I just do just the regular coffee at home, black is my typical thing. Although they said they are going to bring a glass of red milk in a coffee cup, so that's another favorite coffee. Anyhow, all right, let's get this thing warmed up here. I know it's Minneapolis, but Jesus.
Hi, my name is Andrea, and no offense to Ian or Paul, but I waited all weekend to meet you.
God, I love you! I love you! Thank you. Thank you. You have excellent taste.
Thank you. I know I do. I followed your entire career.
Oh, I love you.
I just want to know, outside of Vampire Diaries and Originals and Legacies, what was your favorite movie or show that you filmed? Because I really love you in Blue Crush.
You're sweet. You're sweet. Yeah, I know, Blue Crush. Everyone's like, oh, you were in that. I often forget. People like, you were in Blue Crush. I was like, when? That was a long time ago. I did a film called Below that never really got some traction, but I think it's an excellent film. It's like set in World War II submarine, and it's kind of becomes like a haunted submarine thriller. Like the submarine becomes haunted with a ghost, and it's in the middle of World War II. It's one of my favorite films called Below, which is really good. I did enjoy Blue Crush. That was fun. We were talking in the previous meet and greets, kind of like going over the trajectory of all the stuff I did. So like those films were in the beginning, but I think I had the most fun shooting like Legally Blonde. Pooh Bear. I should just get a tattoo, like the heart, the banner. This is Pooh Bear. Little did I know. Like, you don't want to do this part? I was like, yeah, cool. 25 years later, Warner! You like this? That was me. But thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I love you too. It's very sweet of you. Thank you. Hi, over there.
If you were to be any other character, who would you be?
Who would I be? I think I'd be like, I don't know who I would be. I really liked Clark. What kind of answer do you want to hear? Do you like want a thoughtful one, or like sort of like, I want to be Elena? I don't. Just making a joke.
Like what? Who would I want to be?
Who would you want me to be? Other than Lark? Stefan. I want to be Stefan. I want to be Stefan. But I have to look just like Paul. That's the only caveat. I can only do it if I look just like Paul. Or Klaus. I want to be Klaus. Klaus would be good. I was the original Klaus. I tell Joseph Morgan every time I see him. I was Klaus first, buddy. Just kidding. Another joke. It's true, but I'm joking.
Hi, I'm Allie. I want to say thank you so much for coming out here.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
My question is, what was your favorite part about playing the role of the Lark salesman in The Legacy?
No, Legacy. Legacies was a trip, man. It was a lot of fun. It was kind of zany, like all the monsters. I like battling all the monsters and trying to figure out who Alaric was as the headmaster. He was just kind of like all over the place, you know. He was, you know, he's battling monsters, but sometimes you're like, should you be in charge of this school? You know, like I don't know that I should be in charge of this school. If I were Alaric, I would have handled things a little differently. I'd be like, no kids, you're not fighting monsters. It's way too dangerous. It'd be irresponsible of me as your guardian to let you go and try and fight all these monsters. I have a liability waiver at the school. But I often felt that it was interesting. His journey was interesting to Legacies. It was a very different journey than I would think for him in the end. But I like how he wrapped it up, and I like that he drove out into the night. And I always imagine what his life would look like next. You know, where does Lark end up next? I usually have two thoughts. One is like he becomes a priest. I feel like Lark becomes a priest because he's been fighting demons for so long, all these damn monsters. He's like, I need the Holy Spirit. Becomes a priest, and so I have this scene in my mind that like opens up a movie, you know, where it's like camera pans down from a full moon. You see the steeple of a church in Paris. It's night. You can see the stained glass windows lit from within. The camera pushes into the front door of the church. It's slightly ajar. The camera moves into the church, pans its way over to the confessional. Enter the confessional. There is Alaric. You notice he's a priest. He has a long beard. It's gray. But he still looks good. He looks strong. He's like one of those strong old men that just snap your arm off. And he's listening to a confession. And then the camera pans across the confessional to a man who looks like a junkie. His cold sweats, he's shaking. And he's like, Father, I have sinned, I've killed somebody. Alaric, tell me more. And he begins to describe the murder, but as the clouds pass and the full moon is revealed, he turns into a werewolf in the confessional. Alaric already was aware. He was ready, so he's got his weapon in hand. And then the camera pulls back, and you see the confessional just sort of like explode as the werewolf snatches Alaric and jumps through the confessional, and he has him in his clutches, and he turns into this huge fight within a church, like anime style, fighting a werewolf. And he eventually vanquishes the werewolf, who dies and lets out a howl, and the camera follows the howl up into the cityscape of Paris. And then that would take us into another scene. That's how I see my European Alaric. Sometimes he just retreats to a town, like a mountain village or mountain town somewhere. up in like the Blue Ridge Mountains, and he just hides out. He's like a barfly. And he flirts with the bartender who's, you know, an attractive older woman. You know, she's divorced with a kid. You know, he sits there, they always have banter. And then from there I wonder, is he just retired? Is he just the crazy guy who sits at the bar and tells crazy stories? And then this one time, I had a crossbow. I don't know if you ever watched Legacies, but he had a crossbow. And I fucking hated it. I hated this crossbow. Because it was like old school, like medieval, it was like gold plated, like old school. You know, like, you get one shot. So he's always like, beep, you know? He usually missed the monster. And I was like, can't we like make like a magic bow and arrow that's kind of cool? You know, where it like automatically reloads energetic arrows, and then it can be like a machine gun. So you can't miss. But no, there was so there's this scene. I said, "Love you." This is coffee. Yes, Pinot Noir coffee. And there's a scene in Legacies, I forgot which season, but he's like, he gives Hope the crossbow. He hands it to her. He's like, here, I'm passing this on to you. This is your crossbow now. You know, go with God. And it may have been at the end of the season. I think it was at the end of one of these seasons. And I was so happy. I was like, oh, thank God I got rid of this crossbow. And they re-gifting it. I'm like, oh, here. This is for you. But then, like, the beginning of the next season, the crossbow came back, and I just had the crossbow. I was like, how the hell did I get my crossbow back? I gave it to Hope. Gave it away. Now it's come back. Magically. That's the magic of that crossbow. It just came back. It wouldn't reload itself. I couldn't get rid of it. Yeah. Where am I? How are you?
You're also one of my favorite characters. The next question.
I love you too.
Okay, so you were a vampire slayer too when you first walked into Vampire Diaries, but then you were turned into a vampire to kill Klaus and his siblings. How did you feel about playing the villain, having to be a villain, even though you were like, when you walked in, but didn't see it?
I mean, I loved it. I thought it was fun. I think it's fun playing the villain. I'd like to go back and play the character all over again and just see like how the different choices would look now. But I loved it. I thought it was a lot of fun being like the big nasty vampire back for revenge. Yes.
Hello.
Hi.
So speaking of Legally Blonde, would you say you got into Harvard Law?
I mean, I feel like I should have an honorary degree. I really do. I've met a number of lawyers who are like, that movie inspired me to go to law school. In fact, I went on a date with a lawyer one night, and things were going well, and I walked back to her car, and I kissed her, and she kissed me back, and we kept kissing each other back and forth. And it was real nice. And then she pulled away. She came up for air. She was like, I just have to tell you. I was like, yeah. She's like, I love Legally Blonde. That's why I went to law school. I've been wanting to tell you all night. I said, you're welcome. And then I kissed her again. I have a couple funny stories with that. Did I tell you my bar fight story from Blue Crush?
No.
I've been telling this one, so if you've heard it, stop. I had just gotten back from shooting a movie with Steven Seagal. I mean, that was a wild experience. And I love Steven Seagal. Like, I grew up on, like, the movie Under Siege, 1990s. So he was a hero. And I came back from this movie, and I was just like, it was an action movie. Anyhow, I was having dinner with my girlfriend at the time. We were at a bar. And we were sitting across from each other at this table in a booth. And this guy like slides in next to her. He's like, hey baby, how's it going? I was shocked. I was like, the balls on this guy. I said, excuse me, sir. He's like, what? Like, that's my girlfriend. And he like stands up out of the booth and he looks at me. Should have told this And this is a long time ago, by the way. Long time ago. The only bar fight I ever been in. And he stands up and I stand up. I'm like, just leave us alone. He said, what are you gonna do about it? I was like, nothing. I would just like for you to leave us alone. And he had this big friend. He was a big guy, like 6'4", 6'5", like the Hulk. And he came up on me and was like, oh, what are you gonna do about it? I'm like, I got 2 of these knuckleheads. And I was like, I don't want to do anything about it. And then his buddy, the first guy, he bumps my chest. I was like, oh shit. It's like, it's on. It's on. And so because he bumped my chest, I was like, I looked down, and there was a beer bottle. So I was like, I've seen movies. This is what they do. So I grabbed the beer bottle, and I swatted him over the head real hard. Real hard. I'm like, I'm gonna hit him. Because my dad was always like, if you get in a fight, end decisive. I knocked him over the head, and he just kind of dropped. Like, he didn't even break. He was just like a club. Boom. And I was shocked because he kind of dropped to the ground. I was like, oh. I'm thinking, see you, motherfucker? But then I saw like this big, huge fist connected to his buddy. It's like swinging slow motion in the air. And it's connected on my face real hard. It's like slow motion, cheek wobble. It sent me like spiraling like a top into the bar. And I bumped this girl. I get like, bump, oh. And she like had a drink in her hand. She's like, oh. She looked at me, she's like, I'm so sorry. I know this is a really bad time. She's like, but I loved you in Blue Crush. True story. It was worth doing the movie just for that story. I told her a few times, you could probably tell. You have a question?
Yes. I'm one of your favorite people. You're one of my favorite characters.
I love you.
I have a picture. So what is your favorite baked good?
My favorite what?
She bakes. She loves to bake. I was wondering what your favorite baked good is.
I don't know how you feel about these things. I typically like a good baked good. So long as there are no nuts in it. I hate nuts in my baked goods. A walnut will ruin a great brownie.
Yes.
I'm like, who the fuck put this in there? A walnut? Who the fuck eats walnuts? In a brownie? Pisses me off. Carrot cakes? Is there anything better than a carrot cake without nuts? Carrot cake with nuts, you're just like, Jesus. What a waste of good carrot cake. I've only had 2 sips of this. You've seen it. Where are we? You got a question for me?
I do. Hi, Matt.
Hi.
So you were just talking about Blue Crush. I just recently rewatched it. I just want to know if you learned how to surf for the movie, if you know how to surf still.
Oh my God. This is kind of a funny story about the movie, I guess. I'm from Utah. Thank you. Are you from Utah? Awesome. I rarely meet people from Utah. It's weird. Like they never leave. They just never leave. So when you run into them, you're like, "Hey, how is it?" Back in the home. What was I saying? Oh shit, that's right, too. I'm from Utah, that's right. But I had an irrational fear of sharks. I don't know if you know where Utah is, but it's nowhere near the ocean. And I just grew up with this weird irrational fear of sharks, which became very irrational when I had to learn how to surf. And so, doing that movie, I thought to myself at the time, I'm like, I played football in high school. I'm athletic enough. How hard? I snowboard. In Utah, I snowboard. No sharks on the slopes. I'm like, so I don't know. I got myself. I was not as good at surfing as I had hoped I would be. I'll be honest about that. And they had a very brilliant stunt double for me, who I will be eternally grateful for, because I was very scared when I was in the water. I was just very, very scared. And that made surfing difficult. And they took me out for my first time to go surfing on a beach called Mom's Beach, which is on the north side of the water. And it's beautiful, beautiful. But they're like, they're pretty good sized waves. You know, pretty good sized waves. I was like, sure, I can surf. How hard will that be? Anyway, they take me out there and the surf like turn me around. Point me in the right direction. But I quickly learned that I am not a surfer. I'm not a surfer. I'm a good drowner. I'm a good drowner. I felt like I was going to drown a lot. And I was very worried about the sharks, you know, because I feel like maybe in a past life I was eaten by a shark. That's what I feel like. I feel like I was a sailor, like on one of those like old tiny ships, you know, and maybe like a bootlegger, you know, like a pirate. And I fell overboard, and I'm pretty sure I was eaten by a shark. Anyway, so there was one day we were shooting where they kind of had to hold your boards because they're talking on the board, they had to kind of hold your place. I looked really nervous that day. I was like, what's going on? Like, yeah, this is like a channel for sharks. I was like, oh shit, but I don't want to hurry up and shoot, get out of there. Yeah, it was a very humbling experience. It's a very humbling experience learning how to surf. I do remember one scene. All right, you gotta get out there on the ocean. You need like a wide shot. It was just me on the surfboard, like bobbing, while all the boats were 100 yards away. I was like, everyone's kind of far away. But yeah, that was sort of my experience with surfing. I wish I'd grown up. I wish I was a little more familiar with it. But it was fun. It's always fun to try new things. Yeah. Yeah, probably shouldn't tell that story.
Hello, Matt.
Hi, how are you?
Pretty good. I wanted to commend you for being the father figure in both Vampire Diaries and Legacy.
Thank you.
Every show has one, and you step up to the plate.
I love all of you. Thank you guys. I appreciate that.
But my question here is, you stepped up for Elena and Jeremy when they lost not just one, but multiple family members as a parental. And then you stepped up for David, who was off the tracks, and a lot of people put it towards Elena putting him on the right track. I think the real pivotal role was when you stepped in to become his buddy,
Mm.
and was a proper male figure for him.
Mm.
And then
I agree.
going to legacy and taking on two twins on his own as a single father, basically,
Yeah.
and a whole high school of teenagers
Yeah.
who needed special care,
Yeah.
being supernatural. And
When you put it like this, it
so
blows my mind.
one of the cutest male family,
You do all that.
father roles in modern day TV on a whole different, different angles of it,
Yeah.
with different people.
Yeah.
So I want to know what you gleaned from being that figure, and what attributes of your own did you put into that character and all those roles.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That was very thoughtful. Very thoughtful. Thank you. I've had this kind of a strange experience becoming an actual father. Like I became my first daughter was born 4 years ago, and my second was 2 years ago. And when you actually become a father, you're like, oh, the world just looks very different all of a sudden. And your priorities change. And I often wonder if I actually had kids as the actor playing Mark earlier, if some of my choices would have been different as an actual father. But it was it is interesting because I'm working on this new idea as an actor. Sometimes I say it takes like 20 years to become an actor, and I've been doing it now for almost 27 years, and I feel like I am just starting to kind of get ideas and sort of concepts. And I often now think like maybe it might take lifetimes actually to be a good artist and to be a good actor. You learn so much along the way. You learn certain sort of roles, and it is interesting to play that archetype of a father figure. And I got my oldest daughter's blonde, and my younger daughter's dark and fair. I have 2 kids and 2 daughters in the show. It's like some weird life imitating art aspect, but it's been a very humbling experience all along, and it's been very enriching for me as an actor and as an artist, exploring the archetype of the father figure in that role. And certainly over the course of many years, then actually becoming a father at the end of it, it's been a blessing. It's been a very specific blessing since I set out to be an actor. You want to gain as much experience as you can in acting and doing what you love to do. And it's taken on a wild sort of meta quality for me at this go around. I am not a great actor by any stretch of the imagination, but I have been dedicated to it for a very long time. And so it is an interesting question to think more about, because you're not necessarily conscious of it. But as you kind of wove it all together, it was like, oh, you're right. I see what you're saying. Because you're just on task when you're shooting. You're like, I'm protecting. I'm doing just what I have to do. I felt more aligned with the protector than perhaps the father at times. But in total, looking back on it, as you sort of referenced, it is interesting, especially as it's playing out in my life now, and especially going through a divorce with kids. Where you're sharing custody and you're a single dad. I've been a single dad, which I love. I love being a single dad. I love it. It's a lot of fun. Yeah, thank you. Especially when you got daughters. You're like, you got to set a different example. Sometimes better than when you've been setting in the past. So it's been a very humbling experience, and I appreciate the question. Thank you. Woo! Is this therapy? There's a lot of therapists out here. Hi.
Hi. I love art.
Thank you.
So my question is, assuming no one died, who do you think a lark should have ended up with between Isabel, Gemma, Meredith, Joe, and I guess?
I would say either Elizabeth or Joe. Right? Joe, yeah, man. I got real tense there. Fuck Elizabeth. My name's Joe, obviously. Okay, she's popular here. Joe. I love Joe. I was heartbroken by the end of season 6 when they killed her on the altar. I know. It's like, oh, this is sad. I'm really gonna scar me as an actor. You have to go through that. You're my wife. Pregnant with my twins, murdered on the altar at a wedding. Where do you go from there? I think that's where Lark just kind of went a little crazy. They went a little crazy. That's when I started pitching the idea. I'm like, I really think he should try and bring Joe back from the dead. And she like is like the bride of Frankenstein kind of vibe. You know, where it's just like, hey baby, you're back. You know, she's not quite there. Kind of zombie version. Makes her dinner that night. It just gets real weird. Loses his mind a little bit. My baby. But then we like jump out to like Cam's, Caroline having his babies. That was fun. That was far out. That's where you go. Like when your wife is like murdered on the altar, praying your kids. The next step is to make sure your vampire student bears your children. Just to really make you feel fucking nuts. You have lost your mind, Larry. You have lost your mind. I pitched this idea to one of the writers on Legacies. I said, what do you think we should do? Like, I think we should have a set, we set back to the moment where Mark is dying in the ditch and Joe's pumping his heart back to life. He comes back and he's human, he's not a vampire. Because I think we should snap back to that moment and realize everything from that moment on was just this weird death journey that Lark was taking. And we can pick the show back up from that moment. I don't know. They didn't like the idea. Like, no, dude.
How was it to work with Candace?
I love Candace. Love her. She is the bee's knees. She's a fantastic human being, a wonderful human being. And I very much enjoyed working with her. She's a good friend of mine. We talk from time to time, and it's just always a good. She's like one of those good people, you know. One of those just really good people. So working with her was always a joy, always a pleasure. We always had fun. Yeah, she was a lot of fun. It was cool.
Hi, Matt.
Hi.
I'm wondering if you remember where you were when you found out you got the role.
Yeah, so I was in Los Angeles. I put myself on tape for the audition for the part. And it was initially a 4-episode arc. And so my agents called, I think a few weeks later. I kind of forgot about it. They said, hey, they want to go for you to play this part of a teacher who's maybe a vampire, I'm not sure. It's 4 episodes. Do you want to do it? I watched the pilot. I thought it was brilliant. I thought all the actors on the show were brilliant. I was like, I'd be a part of this. They're like, okay, you're leaving to Atlanta tomorrow. So I packed up the bag, went to Atlanta for a couple, I guess that was like end of October, November, December. By the end of December, by the end of the 4th episode, I think they wanted to make Alaric series regular. And so I became a regular mid-season of season 1. And yeah, just kind of, I've been living in Atlanta ever since. And then it was, I guess, 13 seasons later, Alaric kind of expanded across these 3 different shows and represents a point of view that, is unique, in an interesting way. And not anything I would have foreseen, 13 years ago when they, called this, off the part. But it is interesting because I was in a state then, I'm always in a state, on my knees praying to God, sorry! Oh, and I prayed to God. I was like, man, I was a very specific prayer. I'll never forget. I really would love a job that's going to change my life. Just an experience that can impact as many people as possible. And literally, I got the call the next day. And so that kind of made me a believer. The old praying, that's a different topic. Who's next?
And do you plan to be back to Minnesota?
Do I want to come back to Minnesota? If it's like this weather. Yes, it's very cool. And I missed the first part of your question.
Oh, we were just saying we love you.
God, I love you guys too. This is so lovely. It's so nice. It's so nice. Thank you guys. It's been a long journey. Sometimes you wonder, you can't please all the people. And the people you can't please can be very mean. It's a little touchy. You're like, you hate me. No, I love you. I love you too. Thank you. I feel like you got the photo. How can I answer your question?
Hi, Matt. What season out of Vampire Diaries is your favorite alive?
I think I love season 1, and season 3, and season 6 are my favorite parts. I think those are where he really does a lot of growth. You learn most about the character. He does lots of interesting things. You get the Genesis story to unfold in season 1. Season 3, he becomes a vampire. Season 6, he tries to get married. Tries to start a family. Those are my favorite seasons. Hi.
Hello. I wasn't going to ask a question, but you mentioned being divorced and you mentioned an older woman. So I was just wondering how old is she?
If there's chemistry, what does it matter? I'm at the W Hotel. Oh my goodness. So many things I want to say. And I can't. No, I'm trying to be respectful these days. I've stepped on it too many times. That was
What's your favorite liquor?
the one that's in my hand. It's an alcoholic joke. It's like a dumb dad alcoholic joke too. It's like 2 lame jokes. I like gin. Gin's good. And then like a nice bottle of wine. I think it's always the wine that brings me back in, you know? It's like my buddy's like, hey, I've got this really super fancy bottle of wine that's gonna blow your mind. Do you want to try it? I haven't had a drink in 3 months. Like, try it. Like, fine. So like, good bottle of wine, nice bottle of gin. You know? But I will say that my new thing that somebody just recently introduced me to just the other day, which is like, I think a good go-to, is like hard apple cider. Yeah, right? It's good, it's clean, it's wholesome. It's like apple juice. They're really yeast. That's it. No artificial flavors, gluten-free. Apparently there's a lot of vitamin C and antioxidants in it. Everything I read. I was reading all about it, like this shit's good. Nice dry hard apple cider, 6%. You're good. I was painting the house the other day. Had a few of those. It's good. Recommend painting with that.
I'm a newbie. So I learned that the girls that did this one show about triplets.
Yes.
How is it working with multiple times amounts on an example?
Yeah, there are a lot of strict rules when it comes to like having kids on set. They can only work a certain amount of hours, and that's why they had triplets. I think because they would all kind of go for each other. They were the sweetest kids. They're super sweet. My mom was super sweet. It was kids that age. I don't know how old they were. But they're just very, very, very sweet family. Very, very sweet kids.
Hi,
Hi.
I love you too. My question is, do you have a real life friendship? Like, do you have in the Vampire Diaries, like with Damon?
I mean, all my friends are from the Vampire Diaries, so when Ian calls me, it's like Damon calling me, or vice versa. No, but really, all my close friends are, from the Vampire Diaries. That's what's so lovely about these events. to meeting all the wonderful fans is to be able to catch up with everyone. You know, because everyone's always, schedules are going every which direction. So like to be able to see each other, hang out, and catch up is absolutely wonderful. I wish they had explored more of the Damon Allard friendship later on in the show. I wish they had played more into that. But yeah. We're all, that was the great thing about the show. We're all just really wonderful friends. Everyone is super funny. Like even just now in the back, Paul and Ian just like joking with each other. It's like a great rapport, like a bond, like, really a close bond that spans quite some time. Like just the layers of history, the levels of the humor with each other, like just the love. It was a very special experience. And I think that all translated well with the cast. I don't know if that answers your question. I still talk to it's like my friend. Hey.
I wanted to ask, you played Klaus when he first came in and just like used your body. I wanted to know how that was with that.
It was fun. I honestly haven't seen it since I've done it, so I can watch it. Because I wasn't quite, I just remember getting a call from Kevin, kind of giving me the heads up as to what they were going to do, character-wise. But the character wasn't necessarily fully fleshed out at the time, as I remember. But it was really cool to meet Joseph. That was the really cool part, like meet Joseph doing like handoff. And I remember we ran into each other on base camp, like where all the trailers were. And he was like, hey, nice to meet you, nice to meet you. Welcome aboard. I'm like, this is just kind of like what I was working with. And he's like, okay, this is what I'm working with. These are the ideas that I had. It's like these really rich, opulent, wonderful images that he shared with me in terms of like how he saw Klaus. So I was like, wow, that's so good. That's so good. So it was fun to. I had a couple of images that I was working on for when I played Klaus. I was like, I see him kind of in this kind of scene, like it was, because they wanted I think it was like a 60s ball, like I forget what it was like mod, sort of 60s thing going on. And I had this really cool picture of like Bob Dylan all dressed in like a black turtleneck, black glasses, like totally 60s. And I was like, I think it would be kind of cool to move in this direction. And they liked that. So it was fun to play, but it was really cool just to see, to meet Joseph that first day there and have him take the character over and just turn it into something magnificent, which he did.
Hi Matt, I was just wondering how it was to work with Nina.
Nina's wonderful. Nina's wonderful. I love working with Nina. I was scared of Nina, to be perfectly honest. She's a force of nature, and she just saw right through all my bullshit right away. And just was very cool. Just very cool. Like, I have tremendous respect for her. She was super dedicated, super hardworking, just really focused, just like brought so much life to that character. Like, was the character? It was very passionate, very professional, mischievous. She loved playing her pranks on me. And I just adored her. I just absolutely adored her. And she was like, she was like a muse, like from a distance, like, I really adore you. I think you're a wonderful person, and the work that she was doing. So being able to work with her was great. I mean, I remember she called me out one day, like I was really ready to leave the scene with her. And she pulled me aside, she's like, you're really good when you're prepared. And that's why you scare me. You see right through me. But I love working with her. She's wonderful. I can feel the band assembling in the back. They're bringing the hook. Hurry!
Just a quick one. Hi Matt, my name is Janelle. Do you know what a dog from Minnesota sounds like?
No.
Who's that?
I hate to admit it, I feel that I need an explanation. You do? Who's this? Oh, really? That's for y'all? Oofta. Oofta. You say it like Italian? Like, oofta. That's like mafia style. Alright, sorry. That's good to know. Oofta. Give me another context to use it. How do you use this in a sentence? Oofta. Oofta. Oofta, I'm tired. Oofta. Oofta, it's cold. Alright, okay. Like, oofta, it's 80 degrees. Easy. Oofta. I'm taking this down to a